Hey, it's me, Mattie, and welcome back to my channel. So I really needed to make today's video because every time you Google or even YouTube the term social media influencer, you either get super vague results. People are giving you very miss the mark answers, or they're just not even simply answering the question, what is an influencer? And in breaking news, you don't need to have blonde hair, be a size 0, or even travel the world internationally every other week to be an influencer. Let me explain. So if you have been on the internet at all this last year, I'm sure you have heard the word influencer. It has just been thrown out here very consistently, and it's funny to me that this word has become the go-to buzzword for marketing agencies. And so I want to break down what influencer actually is. So according to the dictionary, influencer is someone who affects or changes the way that other people behave, for example, through their use of social media. So that means to be an influencer, you just can't start an Instagram and claim the title. You actually do in fact have to influence folks, hence the title. I would definitely say in the last 12 months, Instagram influencers have become huge, and it just has become a place that marketers and brands and companies alike have gone to kind of promote their products, because millennials and generations after us have really been going to Instagram to make our purchasing decisions and things like that. So if you want to be an influencer, it definitely would help if you are on Instagram, but to be clear, that is not the only place you can be an influencer. You can absolutely be an influencer on Instagram for sure, but you can also influence on YouTube, you can influence on Twitter and even Facebook and other platforms as well. But I wanted to make sure that we understood the literal definition of what influencer is and now what that means in the society today. Instagram influencers are probably the most familiar type of influencer nowadays, and what happens is a brand or a company will reach out to this person who is an influencer and just email them, give them a call, or set up an in-person meeting. And what they will do is compensate the influencer to advertise or post content that focuses on the company's or the brand's product or their services. So for instance, a soda company could reach out to you because your audience is mostly teenagers who like to drink soda. And they can say, hey, we'll give you $1,500 if you post this soda in your Instagram post or on your Instagram stories. And of course, people sign contracts and make sure all of the legal mumbo jumbo is taken care of. But essentially, that is how being an influencer works for the most part. The reason why that's effective is because nowadays people are spending so much time on social networks, right? I think right now the average time people spend on social networks is about 2.5 to 3 hours. And so if you're digesting that much social media content, that means that you're probably making your purchase decisions based on what you see on Instagram or even YouTube. That is why these companies are willing to pay this amount of money, because they know that this in fact is an effective way to market, hence the term influencer marketing. And that is why they're spending that much money. And it's really exciting as someone who is an influencer, but I think at the same time it's really important to understand the business of influencer marketing and not just like, okay, how do I be an influencer and how do I get all these followers? I do not have 1 million followers. I do this on a full-time level, and I live in Atlanta. I don't travel internationally every other week, and I still make a very good living from this. And I think one of the advantages has been that I really do research influencer marketing as an industry versus just being like, okay, I'm gonna have all these followers and I hope people reach out to me, or I'm gonna reach out to people and be like, you should pay me to do this, versus understanding what kind of value that you offer a company or brand. So this is probably the #1 question that I get when I meet people. For me personally, I feel that you are technically somebody who has a level of influence when you hit 1,000 followers on one single platform. However, according to the industry, you are considered a micro-influencer once you hit 5,000 followers. So there's about like 3 tiers to being an influencer. When you hit 5,000 followers, you are considered a micro-influencer. That goes from 5,000 followers to 100,000 followers. Once you hit 100,000 followers or more, you are considered a mid-level influencer. So that's about 100,000 followers to 1 million followers. Once you have over 1 million followers, you are considered a major influencer. As somebody who is considered a micro-influencer, that again, there's really, really great money to be made in micro-influencer. I think a lot of people think that they cannot become the version of influencer they want to become until they hit 1 million. And I think a lot of people are selling themselves short and missing out on some really great opportunities because they're not realizing the value, aka the usefulness as a micro-influencer. I think there's a lot of companies and a lot of brands alike who don't necessarily have the budget for a major influencer or even a mid-level influencer for that much, but they absolutely can afford to work with a micro-influencer and still pay good money, thousands, if not tens of thousands of dollars, and still really create these really amazing opportunities. But it's really up to you as an influencer to realize and totally understand what your value is, so that way when you do have these conversations with brands and you're negotiating your rates, you understand how to position yourself to get the money you deserve and want. Let's talk about the misconceptions of being an influencer. I think the number one misconception of an influencer is that we're really vain and all we do is take selfies and make sure that everything looks super perfect. And while we do take time to curate content and make content that you want to look at, because if I was just in my bed in my actual pajamas with no makeup on, my wig wasn't on, I don't know how much you would want to watch this video, even if the content that I was telling you was insanely useful and valuable. So let's be clear, presentation is important, but I don't think that automatically makes somebody vain. I think that people also assume that all you're doing is like shooting flat lays and making sure all of your pictures look super perfect when you go to restaurants and different things like that. Again, that is part of the process for some of us, not all of us. And again, I think creating pretty content is part of it, but just a very, very little part. For me as a full-time influencer, there's so much that goes into this, so much planning from outlining what videos, podcasts, and blog posts are gonna say. We're also like breaking down the organization of our content. We utilize things like Google Drive and Asana, Dropbox, Lightroom, those things to like organize all of those things. So I think the misconception is that becoming an influencer and being an influencer is something so easy because all you need to do is like have nice hair and your makeup needs to look nice and you need to take pretty pictures. But there's so much behind the scenes work. There's so much admin and just kind of tedious tasks that a lot of people aren't talking about, and it was really important to me to share it with you guys. I don't say this to discourage you, I just say it to be really honest and candid, and I hope that my transparency prepares you as you go on your influencer journey. So, how do you become an influencer? I think this is the question that everybody wants to know. At the end of the day, you become an influencer by growing your audience, and the way you grow your audience is by posting consistently, and that is going to take a lot of work. I think in the beginning, in your first year, I think it really is smart to figure out when it comes to your blog or your Instagram that you post on a consistent basis. I think for your blog, it can be anywhere from 2 to 5 times a week, depending on what your bandwidth is. Some people still have their 9 to 5 jobs or their day job, and they don't have all the time in the world to just create content. If you do have all the time in the world, I absolutely encourage you to post every single day. With Instagram, because it is now so competitive, you do have to get to a place where you're posting 1 to 2 times a day, definitely Monday through Friday, but still, once or twice on the weekends as well. That is incredibly important. And then, figure out other things. If you have a podcast and you want that to become, influential and you want to work with brands in that capacity, posting once a week at least has got to be a priority for you. And I think the number one question people always ask, you know, in addition to be how to become an influencer, is like, once I tell you that it's about growing your audience, it's like, well, how do you grow your audience? You post consistently. Well, how do you post consistently? Well, you've got to create a very clear process. I think it really is about knowing that it's not just about taking pictures. It's about taking the picture, but it's also about editing the picture. It's about writing the caption. It's about writing the blog post. It's about formatting it. Then you have to figure out which day it's going to go out. So if you want a post to go up on Friday, you should not be taking those pictures and writing it on Friday. You should probably be handling that on Monday or Tuesday. Do not get caught up here like, oh, well, I feel like posting today because my makeup looks good. Well, even if you think your makeup doesn't look the best, but you've planned out this content very carefully and done the work ahead of time, you go ahead and follow through on your schedule. So I definitely encourage you to research and look into editorial calendars and schedules, look into editorial processes. What's the process behind creating selfies or pictures or flat lays for Instagram, for your blog, for your YouTube? You can absolutely have 5,000, 10,000, girl, you can even have 1 million followers, but you gotta go do the work, because there's people out here who are definitely willing to do it. Okay, you guys, I hope that does answer your question on what an influencer is. When do you become an influencer? How do you become an influencer? I know for me that there has been so many misconceptions that I thought about being an influencer, even as someone who is, and I do this on a full-time level, but it was really, really important to me to make sure that I explained it to you guys. I think I really am excited to have this video come out and be there for you, because I think that a lot of people assume that an influencer is one thing, when in fact it is various types of one thing. And you don't have to have 1 million followers. You don't have to be, you know, this size 0 and look like a supermodel. You don't need to live in New York or LA. You can absolutely, you know, be yourself and be an influencer. And I hope that you're encouraged, at least by the time you watch this video. And I really do hope, in fact, that you have taken the information that I've given you and applied it. You know, I'd rather you think everything I said on here was silly, but at least apply and do the work and realize that you can get results from that. So if you like this video, give it a thumbs up. If you are brand new to my channel, welcome. I'm Mattie. It's so great to meet you. Let's subscribe and, you know, subscribe to the channel. Let's make this official. And yeah, let me know if you guys are interested in more videos like this about being an influencer. You know, how do you build your business, you know, as a blogger, a content creator, influencer, whatever it is you want to consider yourself. But that's it for now, and I'll see you guys in my next video. Bye. Your throat never be dry when you don't have to talk. Is as soon as you need to talk that your throat be like, you know what? Let me feel like sandpaper and go like this.